In V for Vendetta, there was this whole scene where this whole city was protesting against the government by using V masks that V wore. But does this actually happen? Well, before I even get into that, I need to take a look at what happens in real world protests to see what even a protest is. This is Bob, and that is Tom. They both work in retailing, but Bob does more work restocking shelves than Tom does working in supply. But Tom gets paid more for less labor. If Bob finds this unfair, he might stage a protest by getting people who also think it's unfair, and they will do things like stand outside of a building and not do the job for a certain time. This is a demonstration of what a job protest is. But in the protest we see in V for Vendetta, that was a civil protest. It's when the whole city/country thinks all rules are unfair, and they would do things like gather at a certain building or force and stand there and protest, I guess. But protests don't usually start with thousands of people. Most of the time it starts with one person who thinks something is unfair. Then more people agree, and if enough believe the same thing, a small complaint can turn into a movement act. And this is when something becomes individual versus state. In V for Vendetta, that mass represent people losing their fear. One person stood up first, and eventually thousands followed. On August 28, 1963, more than 200,000 people gathered at the Washington, D.C. for the historic March on Washington for Jobs and Freedoms. Over 3,000 members of the press came to report on the event, making it one of the most widely covered civil rights protests in history. During the march, Rev. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his famous speech, "I Have a Dream," calling for equality and to end racism and discrimination. The march was originally planned by the labor leader A. Philip Randolph and Roy Wilkins of the NAACP, but it came at an effort joined between many civil rights leaders and organizations.